Hello and welcome to Geoscope here on Politics Social with me, Graham Hughes, and as always, Ollie Bowlerhatman. How you doing, Ollie?
I'm all right. Yourself?
I've
I've had a haircut since last time.
I've had better weeks. No, I've had better years. I've had better decades. But yeah, yeah. I like your haircut. You look proper hard now. You look like you could have someone out in fisticuffs, which is really good. So I basically spent all afternoon designing a thumbnail, taking the piss out of Trump for being a Vogon. And I've just read an article that was published in the last 45 minutes on the FT site, basically saying that the Ukraine has agreed a minimal deal with the US.
Yeah,
but,
should we just remind people what the original one was?
So
we talked about this
look
last week.
Complete idiots, right? Let's just talk about what the original deal was, which I was referring to in the thumbnail and the title of this video. That was for 500 billion, that's $500 billion worth of minerals, rare earth minerals in Ukraine, lithium.
Yep, 3 times
titanium.
more than what Germany was asked to pay in the Versailles Treaty as well.
Yes, and that's even adjusting for inflation. And there's not that much rare earth metals in the world. Plus, they're not that rare. You can get them elsewhere. It's like it's the only place.
Yeah,
in the world
it's a bit of an
them.
oxymoron sometimes to call these rare earth materials.
Yes.
Yeah, like lithium especially. Lithium, we've really found if you've followed this, it's kind of interesting all the stories that have cropped up about lithium recently. It's all over the place. Lithium. It's just that back in I think it was like the 90s, a lot of investment wasn't put into actually getting lithium because a lot of people didn't think lithium was going to be that usable a material. And then all of a sudden, guess what? We all need lithium.
We all need it in our batteries for all of our stuff. Yeah. Nirvana were ahead of the curve, writing a song called Lithium. Just want a big shout out to Duke Vengeance, also to Alex French in the chat there. We've also got Unquiet Badger. Someone was saying that Chris C, I'm so sorry, man. He says, well, thanks to that thumbnail of Trump's face, I will be having nightmares. So I superimposed Trump's face on a Vogon from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie. And I'm sorry, Chris C, for giving you nightmares with that thumbnail. I won't do that again. Is that supposed to be a Trump toll? It's supposed to be a Vogon Trump the Vogon. Puddinator's been a member for 11 months. Point of order. Where's the bowler hat, man?
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere. Okay, it's somewhere. It's
there. I can't reach it.
If you would like to join our friends over here in the chat, and it come up on the screen as we're talking, just hit the subscribe button and wait for a minute, and you'll be able to join them. But don't be a troll, or we will mute you and boot you. But there you go. And Chris C has forgiven me, so that's good. So can't forgive Trump for all the shit he's done though. So let's get into this. So they wanted $500 billion worth of material.
Yeah.
And so even if they gave all that they had each year, it would come to 15 billion. So they would pay it back in about 50 years, I'm going to say. Maybe.
Yeah, probably longer than that.
Probably a lot longer than that.
Because you've got to, those areas are not developed.
Yes, indeed.
So even if you want to get those materials, it's probably going to take some time to actually develop the infrastructure and the mining infrastructure in those areas to actually access all those deposits.
Yeah. And this thing, like, I can see why some might be thinking that this was a bit of a misstep for Vladimir Zelensky, because he started talking up how much of these deposits they had in Ukraine.
Yeah, like say Zelensky's been talking about this for a while. Like it's been the ultimate card really Ukraine has. Like, hey, look, we've got all these materials, and the reason why he was saying it is, look, you do not want Putin to have access to all these materials because eventually he's going to sort of turn around and use them on you.
Yeah.
So that was always the argument. And like I say, Russia is a mineral mining oil state. That is literally how it makes its money. It's what it does.
That
So
and being
it has,
a massive gangster.
yeah, it has all those like that stuff ready to go. And you can guarantee after this war finishes, if they do hold any Ukrainian territory with those resources in it, then they are going to be in there almost immediately, getting as much of that stuff out of the ground as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Sharon Douglas, welcome, new members to the channel. If you'd like to join Sharon and the other people in the chat who've got a rose after their name, if you've got a different coloured rose after your name, it means that you are a member of this channel. If you would like to join Sharon and 200 other awesome people, feel free to press the join button, and it's £2 for the lowest level, then it goes up to £4, and then more and more, depending on how much you give. Captain says, absolutely, Anne, Trump thought rare earth were a band from the 70s. But yeah, so what's happened is Zelensky went round, like you said, like saying, oh, we've got all this rare earth materials, and everyone's like, oh, that's quite interesting. He's like, oh yeah, they're worth like, I don't know, he just pulled a figure out of his arse of like, must be $500 billion worth. And that's all Trump
I don't even know
heard.
where he got that figure from.
And Trump's like, I don't even think that all of the rare earth materials that are in the ground at the moment, everywhere on Earth, will make that much money, really, because it's not, compared with stuff like oil, it's not really that lucrative. The price of lithium, although it did peak a few years ago when the electric cars started, really selling in earnest, the price has actually gone down in recent months, and it's about the same as it was 5 years ago. It's not that expensive. It's like, I don't know. He thinks it's all gold, but it's not. It's just chocolate wrapped in gold, and he's dead excited about it. But they have come with they have agreed terms with Washington. This is news.
Well, we say they've agreed something. We're not exactly 100% sure what they've agreed to.
Yes,
because I was just reading the article that you've sent me, because we're literally you sent me this as soon as we were literally about to go on air. When I've like skimmed through the article, it doesn't have any details whatsoever.
No,
except there is some sort of idea of creating like a sovereign wealth fund, which was part of what Trump last deal he said about that, how Ukraine is going to contribute 50% to that sovereign wealth fund. Other than that, we don't know what else is included in this deal. So I think it's very early days. No one knows about it, at least at the moment. It will have to be passed by the Ukrainian parliament. Whether it does actually pass in the Ukrainian parliament is another question.
Well, that's why the original deal from 2 weeks ago that Trump and his dickheads said, like Zelensky said to them, this won't get through my parliament. I'm not going to get this. They're going, oh, you're a dictator then. It's like, no, I won't get this through the parliament. We've got to vote on it. We have democracy here, unlike in America right now. But yeah, the terms were so onerous. Like no one will take that deal.
And I think until you actually start to see, this deal gets more fleshed out. I don't think you're going to see anything get passed at all, because I don't think any Ukrainian member of parliament is going to put their name to it on that basis of what exactly are we signing. Oh, there's some sort of deal which includes some sort of sovereign wealth fund we're meant to sort of contribute 50%, but what does the rest mean? There's nothing at the moment, so it does seem to be very, very bare bones. This is very, very much in the early days, but it's not the only deal that's on the table currently.
No. Brad W has just said in the chat, Trump heard that the Donbass is full of bunkers and wants to build golf courses there. Hey, the fact that Trump is so deluded, he's so ignorant about everything. We were talking about this last night on Stateside. He seems to think that because America has oil and it imports oil. He thinks that it can stop exporting oil and use that oil domestically, and then it'll have enough oil. However, because of the way that the oil infrastructure is set up in America, the refineries are set up to refine quite heavy crude oil, not the lighter sort of oil that they get from America these days. This heavier oil. And basically, like, they don't have the refineries in place at the moment for making all this lighter oil, refining it into petroleum and gasoline or whatever.
It's infrastructure.
It needs infrastructure.
I keep on talking about this.
Well, he thinks that all oil is the same.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think infrastructure, people just think, oh, it's roads. But no, infrastructure is more than that. It's like it is roads, but it's rail, it's power infrastructure, like power cables, power lines, the sort of the router stations, telephone lines, masts, reservoirs, sewers, schools, you name it. Infrastructure covers like a lot of areas when you say infrastructure. But it does cover that as well, and it's not something people think of when you go, oh yeah, the UK hasn't really invested into infrastructure in the last over at least a decade. Thanks
here's
to
the thing, Ollie, like you and I, we don't have like staff working for us, but still I wouldn't do one of these shows if I knew absolutely nothing about something and then just went, we should do this, and I'm not being fucking nobody. I'd feel embarrassed. I would feel shame if I came on here and said, hey, you know what we should do, X, Y, Z, and it was just like so ludicrous. It's not even like something that might be nice in the future, like universal basic income or something like that. But this is something that, like, why are there not people whispering in his ear? Don't say that out loud, Donny, because you're going to look like an absolute tit.
No one's got control over him. I think even now, I think there's less adults in the room than there were before.
Yes.
And I think Trump has just been let off the leash. Like, say, a couple of weeks ago, you had that infamous picture after the Gaza quote. So his chief of staff literally like staring, doing that, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So another bit of news was that the US, for the first time since 1945, since the UN was created, right? The very, very first time in UN history, the US sided with Russia against Europe. And do you know who else sided with Russia, apart from North Korea and Belarus and Burkina Faso? Israel.
Nice. And Iran, I think, as well.
Yeah. Now let's bring Israel and Iran together. What have Israel and Iran and North Korea got in common? They just like invading other people's spaces, I guess.
Yep.
Space invaders. So Chris C was chatting about the fact that Starmer's brought forward the increase in defence spending. So this was something that was supposed to be going up to 2.5% of our GDP in 2030 under the Tories. And then they had an announcement today, and they're actually bringing it forward to 2027, which is still 2 years away. And which is a good thing. I think we can all agree on this channel, at least.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
because there's a fucking nutter in the White House, and he's currently chortling the balls of the guy in the fucking Kremlin. I mean, come on, let's be sensible. But here's the thing: he's taking it from overseas aid, and I'm really not happy because you look at it going, "What's he going to do? Is he going to cut services? Is he going to raise taxes? Is he going to borrow more?" And obviously, like, we borrow so much in this country now. Our borrowing's over 100% of GDP. He's gone, we can't borrow anymore. I can't put the taxes up because unlike in France and Spain today, where they put on wealth taxes, 2% for the super wealthy. So there's something good that Trump and Musk have done. They've freaked out the billionaires enough for them to say, "Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, we'll pay some more tax. Just don't let them take us." Don't let them take my chateau or my hacienda or whatever they have.
I think that will come sooner or later. I think both Starmer and Reeves are going to have to sort of go in that direction as well.
Yes.
I think they are running out of places where they can really go, and they are going to have to sort of go, well, we're going to have to get some money somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this now: if they go, oh yeah, we're going to do a wealth tax, and it's going to go into sort of helping raise the defense, the Conservatives ain't going to say boo to a goose about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they like an increased defense spending, and if it's a wealth tax to pay for it, well, hey, then that's what it takes.
yeah.
I think that's definitely what it needs. I think uh, again, if you look at sort of Richard Murphy wrote a blog about a wealth tax, sort of how effective it is, and that
Mm,
there's more better ways to sort of tax wealthy people. And I do sort of agree with him on that, and he sort of makes a good argument on that there are other ways to do it. But yeah, I think a wealth tax should absolutely be put in, or the tax on energy companies as well. I think we should be looking back at that as well at the moment, considering how much profit they've made recently as well. They've just announced. Definitely something we need to look back at there. But yeah. But more
yeah.
deals, obviously. The European deal. The European deal, at least from what I remember at the top of my head, also is the establishment of a wealth fund, and Ukraine only has to contribute about 30% to it this time. The EU is going to contribute the rest, which will be interesting to see. And that's not the only deal that was offered. There was one deal being, believe it or not, offered by Vladimir Putin to Donald Trump. And this is incredibly bad because this is basically an imperialist power grab of a deal. Basically, you can buy all these, rare earth materials that we're going to extract from our new conquered territory in Ukraine. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's offered that. Whether Putin will accept that deal or not, there's been we can get into it now if you want, but there's been some disagreement already about the supposed peace deal between Putin and Trump already. I
Yes.
said last week they are both going into these peace talks with cross purposes.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
like Russia wants one thing, the
Yeah.
USA wants something completely
So Trump
different.
said that he'd be willing to accept NATO peacekeepers if he doesn't have to pay for them. And Putin said no.
Yep.
The Putin says no. Oh, hang on. We got a super chat from Tim Ballon. Sorry, Tim. I was letting Ollie finish.
Right.
There have been infrastructure in the UK, but most of it is overpriced ecological disasters or road projects. Yeah. can't disagree with you there, mate. But no, road projects. For the last 50, 60 years, we've been absolutely obsessed with building fucking roads at the detriment of everything else.
Building roads
The cars
in the wrong place,
not
though.
stop.
I think building roads in the wrong place, because there are a lot of places, especially like north of England,
The cars must
everyone
not stop.
talks about, what is it, the A62 up to York,
The
which
countdown.
desperately needs like widening to 3 roads instead of 2, because it is an absolute disaster. It is terrible. It needs widening.
But does it though? Because it still go down to a bottleneck when it gets to the place it's supposed to be getting to.
No, exactly. That's part of the problem. Although it's those 2 lanes that are creating the bottleneck. It's forcing everyone onto it. So it does need that, and sometimes you do need to build a bypass.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's often the thing that a lot of people see.
It really winds me up the way that town planners and road planners decide that the person who's sitting down nice and comfortably in a car, listening to music at a nice temperature, whether it's freezing cold or baking heat outside, mustn't stop. They have to just keep going for all costs. Whereas squishy humans walking at the side of the road, like they can walk an extra mile to get over the bridge that goes over the freaking A road, or walk another 10 miles if it's a bloody motorway, because you're not allowed anywhere near the motorway.
Yeah. Do you know why that's happened? Do you know why there's been this change? It's been a change in thinking.
Bastards. That's why.
Because I've got a friend who's a town planner.
Just put a freaking traffic light there. Let me cross the road.
Well, what's happened is the change in thinking. So you used to get the town planner classic maneuver was to put in a crossroads. So you'd put in a crossroad, or you'd have people turning to traffic. That is now seen by modern town planners as an anathema, that the best way to keep traffic moving is to keep traffic flowing. So now you are seeing a lot more projects. As you said, you're seeing less crossroads, you're seeing less T-junctions, less turning into sort of main roads and things like that, because the new town planning sort of mantra is the traffic must flow.
Yes, the cars must not stop.
Yeah.
The cars must not stop. But this
is you're even seeing this being built against roundabouts as well.
I don't mind roundabouts. Okay, I think roundabouts are sensible.
Well, it's not roundabouts that are being built now; it's gyratories.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what they're called now. Gyratories. So they keep on gyrating.
You just spin out. You just put your car on them, and then you park your car, and the actual whole thing turns around like a big lazy Susan. But no, it's one of the things that really winds me up, the way that it's pedestrian.
We should try and get a town planner, like a modern town planner, on to come and like discuss like the change that has happened.
The cars must not stop. But the thing is, right, going into Newcastle is a bloody nightmare. In fact, Manchester and Newcastle, Leeds as well, Birmingham, they have these ridiculous
Leeds is a nightmare.
Concrete abominations all over the city centre. You know, in the 1960s, they thought that they'll blast a motorway all the way through the middle of Manchester, they'll blast a motorway all the way through the middle of Leeds, and they fucked it up. They did the same in Newcastle. Like, you come over one of the bridges, and you're just in like Spaghetti Junction, and you can't build anything there. There's no grass, there's no greenery, there's no trees. It's just all this disgusting concrete shit, with concrete shit on top of that, and concrete shit on top of that. And the thing is, if you miss your freaking junction, you have to drive for another 10 miles to get back to where you were.
Leeds is even worse.
Freaking roundabout, at least you could turn around.
Yeah, Leeds is even worse, because if you've driven in city centre Leeds, it's a massive one-way system.
Yes. And if you make one mistake because you've not been there before, or maybe you have, but not every day for the last fucking 7 years, so memorize the place.
Yeah, and enjoy your round trip around Leeds.
Yeah. One of the good things about the fact that Liverpool got the short end of the stick, is shrift? The short end of the shrift? I don't know what the expression is, but in the 1960s, we were supposed to have an inner city motorway in Liverpool. That's why the M62 starts at Junction 5, doesn't start at Junction 1. So we've got to build into the city centre. They're just going to blast it all the way through from Edge Lane, destroy all of these Georgian townhouses, destroy the old areas of Liverpool, and it was all going to be above the ground, and you'd have flyovers everywhere, like the bloody Westway in London, the Hammersmith flyover, the M4 going into London. It's just horrible, just absolutely horrible, and so dispiriting. And for what? For what? Like, you don't get in any faster, because you end up just getting plugged at the ends trying to get into wherever you need to go. If you're on a 10-lane motorway, but there's only one lane to get into the parking space, you're gonna have to wait. So yeah, very, very frustrating. The way that town planners just go, we'll just sprawl out the roads. We'll just make the roads really big. And there's places in Liverpool where there's literally acres of wasted space because the roads need to go around in a big one-way curve that's 30 miles an hour, when they could have just put a roundabout in. Anyway, I get off my high horse, because it's nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about. We were talking about Trump saying yes, but Putin saying no to NATO peacekeepers. Statements from Lavrov and Peskov, gobshites, vehemently opposed NATO troops on Ukrainian soil, viewing it as a direct threat to Russia. I think we should threaten Russia.
Yeah, I mean, Russia's want to talk about using troops as like a threatener or anything like that, because they've constantly done that.
Yeah,
they've constantly done that for years, and then them to turn around and just say, well, you can't do that.
yeah. Diz is saying Hanger Lane is a nightmare. I think the Mancunian Way in Manchester is a bloody nightmare. It's terrifying. I think they're taking it down to like 30 miles an hour now, because it's supposed to be a motorway. But the access roads are too short, and they're too close together, and it's just a fucking nightmare. And the way they've built it is like all the cars going to, say, Liverpool have to go to the Mancunian Way to get out, which is stupid. They should go to the M60, which is the orbital motorway in Manchester. That's where they should go. They should all be forced out to the outskirts, down the spokes to the wheel rim, and then go around the wheel and then out. But no, we're all forced, crammed from the north, the east, the west, the south, crammed into the city centre, and then spat back out on the M602. Absolutely mental. Right, what else have we got here? Gulf Marine says, I think it's predictable from what we've seen so far that corruption of an authoritarian state leads directly to military decay. They were counting on fear the whole time. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that Russia is a paper tiger, or in this case, a paper bear. And I think that
it's sort of shown that in Ukraine.
Yeah,
quite frankly. I mean, it's very obvious that they've run out of, or almost at that point of running out of heavy vehicles. We've talked before about there's been comments about Russia cannot fight beyond 2025. So this entire deal, Putin is banking on it in some way, shape, or form. I think, as I've said, I think that because the US and Russia are going into these like peace talks with very cross purposes, both wanting different things.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to happen. I really don't think anything's going to happen. And you've obviously got no one seemed to, or at least no one's asked Trump what happens if the Ukrainians turn around and say we're not accepting that peace deal.
Yeah.
Does it favors to Russia too much and gives us nothing?
Yeah. The madness.
It's the classic Trump conundrum. Oh no, someone has done something because I could never possibly predict they might say no or not go for that deal.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the stuff that he's trying to do, I mean, some of it's going to get through. That's the awful thing, but I think a lot of it is going to be watered down or backtracked on or whatever. I just a couple of messages here. One of them's from Brad W. Why does the world go mad whenever Liverpool FC run away with the league? 2020 was COVID and now it's this. If we want a stable world, Liverpool must be stopped. Brackets, sorry, Graham. Why are you apologising to me? I'm an Evertonian. I can give a shit. So, yeah. Although, if they do win the league, it will be nice to go out in Liverpool and celebrate and see the football bus, the open deck bus, go down Queen's Drive. And, yeah, I good luck to them. Good luck. They look like they've won. They look like they've won the league now, so all bets off. But the fun thing is, Everton is currently above Manchester United in the league. That's how bad Manchester United are doing. Not how well Everton are doing, sorry. This is how bad Manchester United are doing. And the other thing that someone said that stuck out to me was about, this is W. James, but they have a lot of nukes. Russia has a lot of nukes. I don't believe they do. I really...
There's what condition are they in?
Yeah. You've got to keep on top of these. So in the States, they spend more money on just looking after their nuclear weapons, keeping them topped up with tritium or whatever they put in them. They spend more money on that than Russia does on its entire military. And Russia's in a state of war.
And you've also got to remember, they have used the missiles as conventional missiles. They've used intercontinental ballistic missiles to strike Ukraine, not with nuclear warheads, but just to strike Ukraine, because that's how out of missiles they are. That they're having to resort to cannibalizing those types of missiles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions around, of course, nuclear stockpile, and I do think they do have nukes, but it's the question of what condition they are in, and I don't think they're in a very good condition at all, to be quite frankly. I think maybe they've got short range, the artillery ones they can fire off.
Yeah,
those are completely different to sort of the missile ones, but those I don't think are in the best condition. No.
Blue Badger 88ing. I follow a few Ukrainian war YouTubers. Around 70% of total Russian heavy vehicles, both tanks and BTRs, and other states that most that's left is rusted shells and not usable. And this is why Russia pushed so hard to get Trump elected. Trump being Krasnov, the Russian agent, which does that?
I mean, this is the year. If Biden if Kamala had won, You don't even have to change tactics. Just continue what you're doing. And by the end of this year, Russia would be in huge trouble.
Yeah.
It suffered huge manpower losses. Huge manpower losses. It's lost a lot of equipment. A lot of equipment. Its economy is in entering huge problems. They're egg rationing because of this. There's the salt, the price of butter is through the roof. The only areas that really aren't being sort of affected are Moscow, although Moscow's feeling that as well.
Yeah.
Debt is massively increasing. Inflation, they've tried to hide it for a long, long time that, oh, inflation isn't affecting our economy. This year it is, especially last year, it really kicked off, inflation in their economy. So it's not as the situation that Russia is in is pretty bad. And like I say, Putin is desperate to do any sort of deal, but he wants to come out of this with something so that he can turn around to the Russian people and say, see, this was all worth it.
It's not a life. It's not a deal for him. It's a lifeline.
Yeah.
Like he is. The war in Ukraine is like the ring in Lord of the Rings. And he's Sauron. If he loses the war, if that war is over, that the ring gets thrown to Mount Doom, he won't be here anymore. Yeah. Like they will throw him out of a window and install someone else to do Putin's job. His entire life, his freedom is based on this. And when you see a resolution coming through the UN and who votes against it, Netanyahu doesn't want to go to jail. Trump doesn't want to go to jail.
I mean, that's the biggest
Putin
one.
doesn't want to go to jail. Well, jail. I mean, by jail, I mean thrown out a window.
That's the biggest one because it still shows that there is a rift between Europe and the US on this.
Yeah.
That they cannot vote for a UN resolution, which, bear in mind, would have been vetoed by Russia anyway, because they veto all of them, all these resolutions. But the fact that they have turned around to sort of, do this resolution and not put the blame on Russia. And yet you've got some people turning around and going, oh, no, you don't understand. It's an attempt to try and reach some common ground with Russia. And you're like, no, hold on. You have to, at some point, say, these were the people who invaded another country.
Yeah.
Why have you got to treat them as if they're some sort of neutral party or, oh, it was just an accident that Putin invaded. He just accidentally put his troops across the border for the past 3 years. It's insane. And
whoopsies.
Someone put in the chat how have some of the Republicans acted on this? Well, I've been trying to keep an eye on like the Republican Party for the past for like the next coming couple of years because I think what's going to happen over there in the Republican Party going to be pretty interesting. But last Friday, Trump backtracked on some of these comments he'd been making about Zelensky. That was because a lot of pro-European Republicans had put pressure on him to reverse that course. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of very happy Republicans with this vote. I do not think there's going to be a lot of very happy Republicans at all. But it's now what kind of pressure they're going to put on him.
Okay, well, gonna have to stop you there because we just had a mega chat. Woo! Of 50 euros. Thank you so much, Eurosh. That's very, 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 very kind of you. Very generous. It's my birthday on Friday, so I'll put it towards some kind of birthday treat. The only thing that gives me hope is that the EU so far has always stepped up and did the right thing when given no other choice. Trump is working very hard at alienating all of the USA's allies. The EU will have to learn to do without NATO's workhorse. Yeah, Yosh, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
That's my stance on this as well.
Yeah.
The silver lining is that Europe's going to have to work together more.
I think there's a meeting in London this week.
Yeah.
And I've kept, this is something else I've kept on saying. We have to get Poland more involved.
Yeah.
Because Poland is tooled to the nines for the past 3 years. They are already at like 5% spending GDP with their defense budget.
Yeah.
Like they are ready to go to war. They saw the HIMARS system working in Ukraine really well, and they went, we'll buy 300 systems and we'll literally line them up along Kaliningrad. And yeah, that they are ready to go. We need to get and make sure that Poland is really involved in some of this defense stuff.
Yeah.
Because they, if you go to war with Russia, they're pretty much on the front line, as well as the Baltic states as well. But Poland is literally ready to rock and roll, and I think getting them involved in the UN and in those peacekeeping talks as well will be good.
Yeah.
It should be, the UK, France, Germany, and Poland in this together, and really sort of leading that.
Yeah.
On this. And I think you are going to see, I think, even more defense deals being done by the sounds of it as well. Now, Germany's got a new chancellor. He is basically said, yeah, we're ready to sign defense deals, UK.
Yes, he's come straight out, hasn't he? Because Scholz was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. He even left the meeting last week. He left it early, didn't he? Because he was like, well, I'm a lame duck. I don't care about this. This is ridiculous. When this all started kicking off with Trump betraying the Western alliance, betraying his allies. And he's such a creep. Like, let's just face it, the guy is he's a hover show. This is what he does to his allies. We saw this from the get-go when he started talking about putting trade tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico and Canada, like across the board. Like, which he still plans to do, by the way. We are going to come to that.
That's back on now.
Before we do, Super Chinese says that's a hyper chat. No, it isn't. So Super Chat is up to 50 quid. Mega Chat is over 50 quid. Hyper Chat is over 100 quid. And an Ultra Chat, which I think we've only had one or two of these ever, and I think it was on election night. An Ultra Chat is £200 or more. You get an Ultra Chat. But yeah, if anyone wants to drop an Ultra Chat tonight, it's up to you. No pressure. But yeah, so should we move on to this then? Should we talk a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, because this is what I thought was going to happen anyway. He never said he was not going to put these tariffs back in, that it was just a 30-day pause. Well, those 30 days
nearly up.
Are almost up. So we're looking now at those Mexican and Canadian tariffs of, what is it, 30%?
25% on most goods, with lower rates for energy products, so oil. Part of his strategy to pressure on these nations on issues like illegal immigration and drug smuggling. Mate, if you think that illegal immigrants and Canada drugs are coming over the border from Canada at a great rate, I mean, it's arguable with Mexico, but are there a lot of Canadians just dying to live in America, like coming over the border? It's a handful of people, if that. Yeah. And actually, balance of trade wise, when it comes to drugs, more drugs come into Canada from America than come from Canada into America. Come from America into Canada than go from the other way. Because obviously America's a much bigger country with much more criminals. So yeah, this is
it's insane. I think there's gonna be a big backlash.
Yes.
You're gonna see the panic we saw back at the beginning of this month all kick off again.
Yeah.
All off again.
Yeah.
It's all gonna kick off again. And I've said this before. The EU needs to reach out to Canada and start doing a deal, because Canada's got a lot of oil and gas. If we can get that infrastructure built, because the infrastructure is not there, as again we just said at the start, the infrastructure is not on the East Coast where it needs to be built. To get that oil and gas, it currently has to go down through America. I think to like Louisiana, I think somewhere around there. That is like the big oil and gas shipment to come out. So it is certainly, a point to go, well, okay, divert it now through your own country straight to us.
Yeah.
So it's just getting that infrastructure built. And I think if you went to Canada and said that, I think they'd be up for that. I think they'd be well up for that. Don't do a full free trade deal. look at doing like sectorial deals where you can like, okay, we need oil and gas. Let's do an oil and gas deal. Great, excellent. What sector deal can we do next? So it's like nice and quick, and that's how you do a full free trade deal, because it'll work up. Then all these deals you can just package into one thing.
Yeah,
it's already pretty much there done. So it is doable. I think Canada will go for it. It's just starting them. And Jonathan Reynolds, bizarrely, going to India to restart trade talks with India for the 15th round.
Yes.
Just
give up, man.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
I know, but it's a bit wet and miserable out here in the UK, isn't it? You might want to go over there, so it's nice and have a few days.
I can understand why. You know, India's economy is a large economy, so you know you would want to do
great, mate.
Yeah, you would want to do a trade deal with their economy.
Yeah,
it's understandable why you would, but the problem always has been for a number of years, and you've seen this with other countries that have tried to do a trade deal with India. India is like, we are full on protectionist. We don't like giving access to our market, and when we do, the parts that we give away are so small that it's hardly worth it. And then you look at the country Australia tried to do a free trade deal with India, and they've been waiting for a callback for the past 8 or 9 years for that trade deal talks to start going. So like, they're just not interested in doing these types of free trade deals. They're just not interested at all.
No.
So
there's been any history of it as the
it's all to do really with their history.
I think they're very wary
of
ever being dependent on other countries in case the other countries just, I don't know, turn gangster on them. They wouldn't know anything about that, would they?
Yeah, because there's no history of the East India Company doing something like that, or
horrific things.
Yeah.
Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, my friend. That's very kind of you. Remember, you can jet wash the pavement clean with a stencil outside an American business in the UK. I don't think they can do anything. You can jet wash the pavement clean with a stencil outside an American business. Oh yeah, so you get a jet wash. Yeah, but you got how do you get the jet wash out there? You've got to attach it to a hose pipe, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You're going to bring your own water.
Bring your own water. Well, I suppose you've got one of those rods that they put into the ground to get to the stand pipe. Then they could, I don't know. But yeah, that's one way of doing it. Or you could put a little projection thing like Led by Donkeys do. That's always fun. But yeah, there was some posters that went around, wasn't there, in London? Or at least one of them, and someone took a picture of it, of the Tesla swastika. Goes from 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. Novara's media's solution to Europe's problem is to quit NATO and do a deal with Russia. What the fuck are they smoking?
Yeah,
that's what G Vengeance
says. I've seen this going up and down in chat. Apparently, Novara Media wrote an article about this, and I went looking for it, but I couldn't find it. And now I think someone said in the chat they've deleted it. If it is still there, or someone has a link to it where it got saved or something like that, please do send me that, because I would be fascinated to rip into them for suggesting such a monumentally ridiculous move. But I think they know that it's such a monumentally ridiculous move because apparently they've removed it. I've gone looking for it, but I don't think it's there anymore.
But would it be out of character? Would it be out of character? Would it?
No. No.
Let's hear what the tankies have got to think. Let's hear what the tankies have got to say.
Yeah. Tankies aligning with Russia.
No. Well, considering
I think that was one of the best things that actually happened, like, out of the Ukrainian war. The fact that we have managed to purge like so many people from the left who were tankies, who are just like openly supporting like Russia as it is under Vladimir Putin, and you're like, what? This is the country you want to support? What are you going on, guys? What are you going on about?
How? Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the super chat. Battery jet wash with a bucket, profit. Yeah, that's a point. You could just do it with a bucket, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Put it in a bucket. Fuck it. put it in
And
the
that's
bucket.
something else to bring up as well. The Canadians are already fighting back against this.
Yeah.
You're already seeing American boycotts come in.
Yes.
Like they're boycotting stuff. You can see shelves in supermarkets. Like they've removed all the American whiskey. They've stopped stocking certain American products, or they've said that they're no longer going to buy certain American products.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're just going to see that step up even more.
Yeah.
And there's been instances where like Canada and America have been playing like hockey games, and they've all been booing and jeering.
Yeah. Well,
like the American national anthem.
This was interesting. So there was this hockey tournament that was just really ad hoc. It was cobbled together at the last minute. It was called the Four Nations. It was the US, Canada, and two nations from Scandinavia or something. So it was like Norway and Sweden or something.
Yeah, people who play hockey.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was four teams, and the final came down to Canada and America. And because of heightened tensions right now, obviously, it became the most important thing of all time. It went from being a thing that no one gave a flying fuck about. It was basically international friendly to being like life or death. This is going to be the thing that we're going to go on about now for the next 50 years. I don't think they will. But yeah, Canada won and made a big deal out of it for like a Thursday night hockey match. That was pretty impressive. And Chris C is saying, I stopped watching Politics Joe and Navarra Media as they just didn't seem serious. Oh no, Chris, because we're not always serious on this channel, and we do like to make jokes. So we'll try. We're serious in when we're being serious, but I've got a philosophy that you can't take all this too seriously, because first of all, it wouldn't be interesting to watch. I think it would just get depressing after a while. But also, I mean, just for our mental health.
Yeah,
you've
got to find, you've got
to find the funny
in
levity
there somewhere sometimes.
Dark
we
humor.
do talk about some very serious topics sometimes, and yeah. Some episodes have been very heavy.
Dark humor. Ivan, thank you so much for the super chat. £20 super chat. Everyone's been very, very generous tonight. Thank you. Ivan says, I'm fully behind the increase in defence funding, even though it's regrettable with it being at the expense of foreign aid, which is also on top of US aid being dismantled. However, I would be even more angry if they targeted benefits, as the Tories are suggesting. Yeah. Given the three options, none of which were very good, like increase borrowing. No, we can't. Increase taxes. I don't think they can. And then, or cut benefits. I mean, but yeah, I've thought a few times in the last couple of months, thank God I'm not Keir Starmer, because then I wouldn't be as funny as I am or good looking. But
he has walked into like the worst possible moment.
Got the worst job in the world. Like,
I think they were very much hoping
he gets
Kamala
shit
would
from the
win.
left, he gets shit from the right.
Yeah, I think he was hoping Kamala Harris would win, because that would have saved so many headaches over the past like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
and yet now he's like, oh, every week, like, oh, what's Trump done now?
Oh, what's he done? Oh, let the bad man go away. One Angry Pagan, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. Europe must regrow its damned spine. I don't think Ollie Pagan actually would have said it that way, but I'm just paraphrasing. I think Europe has always had at the back of its mind, like, there might come a point in the future where we might have to go it alone, but it just didn't seem like a realistic prospect for so many years.
The entire defense idea was that America was there.
Yeah.
And there was always the assumption that America would be there. And now Trump's just gone, meh.
Yeah. You don't know what you've got.
And that's upended it all.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Mexico tariffs, Canada tariffs start in a few days' time. Could tank the American economy. I mean, the American economy is not doing so well at the moment. Tesla sales are not doing very well.
Yeah. Halved in Europe.
50%, over 50% down in Europe compared with this time last year, compared with January last year.
If the Tesla stock tanks, that's Elon Musk done. And if Tesla goes on there,
he's got a lot of
very
money
unlikely
for the Treasury. He's going on a little boys night out to Fort Knox, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
Go and steal some
yeah,
gold. Bloody
yeah.
lunatic.
We're gonna go check if the gold's there.
Yeah, we've
It's
got to
like,
check if the gold's there. I've got to count the
okay.
gold. What are you doing, Elon? I'm counting the gold. Counting the
And the thing is,
gold.
this comes from a conspiracy theory. This is how ridiculous this gets. So the conspiracy theory goes, for those who don't know, the conspiracy theory goes that all the gold in Fort Knox was spent decades ago and it's no longer there. And all the gold that is there is just like fake gold or it's gold plated ingots of something and it's not real.
Yeah.
And that if once people find out that the value of the dollar will crash, and Elon Musk is going to prove that it's all real. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
okay,
Elon.
okay.
Okay, Leon, whatever your name is. We touched on this before, but obviously Macron met up with Trump yesterday. It's the first.
Oh, the most awkward meeting of all time. You
and
mean?
Macron corrected Trump, which everyone loves being corrected, don't they? However, I would say, it was interesting that this deal with Ukraine was formalized yesterday. I know it's not finalized, but it was formalized yesterday. Do you think that Macron could have had a little bit of a hand in that, whispering from the... Because no one else is going to be advising Trump to do a sensible thing over there. He's surrounded by dickheads.
Maybe. I mean, no. If you remember the last Trump term, we normally found out like 3 or 4 weeks later what Macron had said. So we're probably going to find out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What gets said. Starmer's going over as well to hopefully try and do the same thing, do a bit of Trump whispering, which again you need to do. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are having a go at Macron and Starmer for doing this, but you kind of got
to. This is the shit job.
This is diplomacy. You've got to do this. You've got to engage with America. You can't just ignore.
Don't clean. If your job's cleaning a toilet, you can't just stand next to the person who's doing the job and go, "Oh, you shouldn't be cleaning that toilet." It's like, this is my fucking job. I don't want to do this, but it's the job. So like. Yeah. And I'll say like why I couldn't be a politician, because I like not being diplomatic. I like being able to call Trump and see you next Tuesday, and there's no repercussions on my career or the economy of my country because nothing hinges on it.
And Ed Davey, people give like a lot of credit for like Ed Davey going out and like calling out Trump, but if Ed Davey was the prime minister, he would moderate his language when he was speaking to Trump. He would not be saying the same type of thing, he is now. He knows he can say it because he can get away with it. He knows he's not going to be, in power at least anytime soon. So he knows you can get away with it, and that scores him big brownie points, especially at the moment. Especially given the fact, Kimi Badnoch, by the way, tomorrow, if you want to watch something fun, she's doing a foreign policy speech tomorrow.
Ooh.
What she's going to say, I have no idea, but yeah, could be quite fun.
She's gonna look at the camera and she's gonna say, "Vladimir, draw me like one of your French girls." That's what she's gonna say.
I don't think so. She's actually been quite consistent when it comes to support of Ukraine. So I can at least give her that, I suppose. But
she's a big Trump fan. She must feel very conflicted.
I just want to say that's something to watch as well. All the conflicting talks on this, because there's been some fun Nigel Farage clips this week about him trying to support. Oh yeah.
So Farage and Tice went. Well, none of them actually. None of the reform fuckers were in Parliament today, and that was pointed out. Oh, where are they?
Yeah.
Just before we go on, Gilidor, thank you very much for becoming a member. Welcome, Gilidor. And if you'd like to join the channel, all you need to do is press that join button. If it's available, it's not available for everyone, but if it's available, you press the join button, and you can join the politics socialites. So Ollie, we've got a couple more stories to go. We've only got 5 minutes left, so we're gonna go through them pretty quick. So there was a meeting between Macron and Trump, and there was a minimal deal that the EU's offered.
Yep.
So don't know what's going to happen.
We don't know. We don't know the full details of that either. But apparently there's some sort of sovereign wealth fund involved in that.
Yeah, but that stresses the mutual benefits, unlike Trump's more predatory demands, and to support Ukraine's recovery and economic stability. Tell us about Taiwan stopping a Chinese ship that was chopping up noodles. No, chopping up undersea cables.
Yeah.
Submarine
so
cables.
yeah, this keeps on happening. Of course, ships, or at least civilian ships, destroying these cables. These cables are vital undersea infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like there was one case literally not that too long ago where the cable to Gotland got cut by one of these, again, Russian ships, and Gotland lost its internet for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And some of these cables are incredibly important. And it makes you worried by the fact that there's like one cable that goes between here and America, and if that gets cut, we could lose like communication with like America. Like we could lose the internet, and you've got to fix that. And it's a lot harder to fix because in the Atlantic, it's a lot deeper to actually solve that problem. So it's not going to get solved in 24 hours. So a lot of those cables are, again, very vulnerable to this type of thing, and can be done, deliberately. Can also be done accidentally as well.
Well, I was going to say,
but has happened accidentally.
You
drop your anchor.
Do happen. Yeah, but on your shipping chart, all of those cables should be marked, which makes them vulnerable, but it makes it less likely that you put down anchor somewhere where there's going to be cables around there, because obviously these ships drag their anchors around. It's not like you drop the anchor and then you just stay still. The tide goes up, the tide goes down. You move around, and that drags the seafloor where the anchor is. So if it snarls on the old cable there,
and that's what's kept on happening a lot in the Baltic Sea.
It's particularly vulnerable. Captain Coconut saying Starlink as a solution. Well, unfortunately, that's run by a Nazi. So
yeah.
Tim Ballum, thank you for the £10 super chat. Hey, kind of Tim tonight. I think Tim's building up to getting a mega chat. I don't think anyone's ever been prosecuted for replacing adverts in bus stops as they are a public place. We need to be able to subscribe to things like the 0 to 1939 posters. Yeah, Tim, but I think that with them and with Led by Donkeys stuff, when they started just doing billboards, I mean, first of all, I think the first billboard they did, they covered a billboard that was not being used. It didn't have anything up on it. And then in the future, they actually paid for the advertising space, so they were allowed to put those posters up. But they only need to do one. This is the beauty of a billboard campaign now. You only need to do one, and then you just film it, and then you put it on the internet. And instead of just like a couple hundred people seeing it driving past, you have, before it gets taken down, you have millions of people potentially seeing your campaign. So that's kind of a cool thing in a way. But I don't know how effective these protests are. We Led by Donkeys have done some really, really cool shit. I remember when we all held up a tweet that from David Davis saying David Davis saying a nation that cannot change its mind is not a democratic nation. And that was in Parliament Square, and they had a helicopter going over, and they photographed it, and they put a big message. Britain wants to remain. They wrote it into a farmer's field. It was actually Liz Webster's field, by the way. Little connection there. And did it change anything? Did it? Oh, Ollie, I can't hear you. Oh, Ollie, you're muted. You're muted, sir.
We go. Yep. Sorry. There we go. Yeah.
I thought they'd stolen your voice, mate. I thought you traded your voice for every time you wished your wish would come true.
No.
Okay.
Alas, no.
Okay. Go on. So what happened?
Protests can be hard to like measure their effectiveness because it depends what the protest is, what the sort of the pressure point is, and sort of what the protesters are sort of asking the sort of government to do. So sometimes some protests can be effective. Others are a bit. What do they mean? It's really hard sometimes. It is really hard. It's not just getting the people out there. It's having that sustained message and having that message being sent to the people and making sure the public understands that message as well. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. You've seen that with the Just Stop Oil. how many members of the public are like not happy at people who with just stop oil.
I honestly, I think that they are funded by the oil companies. If I found out they were, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way. Like, they've done so much damage to the environmental movement in this country because they just pissed off normal people. Why are they pissing off normal people? But also, I mean, you know, when we talk about protests and things, now we've got a Labour government. I think we should be lobbying them like crazy because the Tories would never listen to us, but Labour might listen to us. But unfortunately, we don't have the resources, we don't have the money to go and wine and dine every Labour MP and, you know, bend their ear about our particular pet subject that, you know, we want to change. And I think that's sad, you know, like, I mean, it's sad that we live in a system where that kind of thing is encouraged, which it shouldn't be. But the people who are taking full advantage of that are the arms manufacturers, the tobacco barons, the gambling lobby, the fucking oil
especially
lobby.
the gambling lobby. Especially the gambling lobby. There's been so much stuff about it over the past couple of years.
Yeah,
the gambling lobby.
We've got an infestation of badgers. Have you seen how many badgers there are in the chat? We've just got hundreds of badgers. Everyone's just putting badgers in the chat. It's going to start the badger song in my head here.
Yeah.
Someone put some mushrooms in there and a snake. Ooh, there's a snake. So yeah. This ship that was taken by Taiwan. It was registered under a flag of convenience, a Togo flag, but it was a Chinese crude ship, and they were detained. And the incident is suspected to be in a deliberate grey zone act by China, highlighting regional security tensions, which, you know, Trump isn't exactly making any better.
Yeah. And you've got to be careful of these incidents because China could decide that that's an act of war. You know, they could go to war with Taiwan if they wanted to over this.
Yeah.
So when these incidents happen, you've got to watch out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, right. Well, I think we'll leave it at that then. Is there anything else that we haven't covered? That was 5.
No, that's it. That's everything. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just in the nick of time. Hey, everyone. Oh, we got a few mushrooms and a few snakes, which is good. And Paul has just sent a bunch of, what the hell are they? Onions? Are they supposed to be onions? And a couple of cocks. I mean eggplants. I mean aubergines. I mean, what's blue badger? Stop it with the emojis, everyone. The badger clan is inevitable, says Ollie Bacon. It's like just Badger. It's like in being John Malkovich, where he goes into his own head and everyone just says the word Malkovich. Badger. How's everyone feeling tonight? Badger. What do you think about this particularly serious bit of foreign policy, everyone? Badger.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sarah says night, Graham and Ollie. Night, Sarah and everyone else watching, Duke Vengeance and Phil and Saz in the chat. Oh, Tim, another £10 super chat. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Tim saying, Graham, I have part of the Tories are lying billboard. Wow, fantastic. Was that the original? Was that the original one? Was that the original led by donkeys? Tories are lying, which they absolutely were. You're gonna have to stop showing all these, doing all these emojis because I'm having to approve them all. It's a little bit distracting when I'm trying to wrap up the show. So listen, thank you very much to Ollie for coming and sharing his expertise and his passion for international politics. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all the wonderful people in the chat, socialized in the chat, and thank you so much for the super chat, especially Yorosh with that amazing mega chat there, and also Tim, who's probably given a mega chat in smaller doses. In fact, I'll give. Here you go, Tim. This is for you. This is for Tim. He gets a mega chat. Woo! Don't get to press that button very often. But the time has come to push the button. Okay, so I'll be back in the morning at 9 o'clock with Morning Brew, and also it's Prime Minister's Questions. It should be tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And so hopefully I'll see you for both of those. And until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.